Okay, this is Brian from the Institute for the Built Environment, and he's been a tremendous help to Polestar in our planning, and I'll let you just share about lifelong homes and lifelong communities.
Great. Thanks, Michael, and good afternoon, everyone. I just have a couple quick things to talk to you about to share some of the work that we've been doing with Polestar and some work that we may do with Polestar. And so I'm going to talk first about the sustainability design guidelines that we're creating, and then I'm going to talk about our Lifelong Homes initiative that could be something that Polestar embraces in the near future. So you may know that our institute is at Colorado State, and our simple mission is we create healthy, thriving places together. And here I am doing it with you. That's the together part. So I'm going to just tell you that from a couple years ago when Michael and Diva first found out about our institute and connected with me. And then I got very excited about what all of you are involved in. And as we began to go back and forth on some different meetings and meeting the project teams, I came up with the idea that we've done for some other projects that I think it would be great if Polestar adopted sustainable design guidelines. And so here's a little statement about why I think they're so important. And I think Polestar is striving to be have a higher standard of design and living than most projects. And sustainability, and maybe even more than sustainability, a term that we often use is regeneration. And that regeneration could be of the mind and the soul. And it's also of the place. And it's also making sure that the place appreciates the nature of the place. So with that, we've been working on creating rather simple statements that we believe will help Polestar, not just from the start of the design and construction, but carry on when maybe new generations are part of Polestar and maybe a new building is being proposed or a large renovation or a small remodel. All of those can be part of the design guidelines. And so just to give you a snapshot, these design guidelines are going into the site. And so all those kind of minor things that are part of the site could get into vehicle sharing and waste management and biking and bike infrastructure, as well as then the landscaping. So the materials that are good to use for drought tolerant and for our climate, gardening principles, water conservation, working to make sure that the island of heat isn't too large for around Polestar. So how we plant and how we use hardscapes and reflect heat away rather than absorb it, that makes for a more comfortable, healthy place and one that doesn't need to use as much energy. So that's the site and the landscape. Then there's the green building, the buildings themselves. And first of all, the energy of the buildings. And there's a lot of, as you can see, subtopics in energy like efficiency and electricity and renewable energy, and getting into lighting and daylighting and making sure we know the data, the energy metering for the entire development as well as the individual components. So someone would know if, oh boy, I'm using too much energy, how could I use less energy? What strategies could I employ? And then also with the buildings, it gets into sustainable materials and healthy materials, and the indoor air quality and making sure that's healthy, the water, making sure we're conserving and it is high quality water, and then the acoustics, both in the, especially in the non-residential buildings, but also in the sanctuary spaces. We want that to be quality of sound and not noise or problems. And those can arise later, but what if we deal with it now in the first place? So those are the things that we're going into and we're creating. When I say we, it's our institute, and our institute is on campus, and we hire students that are in some aspect of the built environment. So it might be construction or interior design or landscape architecture or real estate or natural resources. So we have students from all those different disciplines that get to work on these real projects. That's what's special about working for a land-grant university like Colorado State, is we get to work on real projects for communities in our state and in other places. All right, so that's the Sustainable Design Guidelines. Now the Lifelong Homes Initiative is something that we have created because so many people retire to Northern Colorado, and often they have a hard time affording a home, let alone if someone has a disability and they need to modify the home, then you're talking about even more expense. So what if homes were created in the right way in the first place so that you wouldn't have to do major renovations for someone that might have lack of certain abilities? So we were tasked by a county committee on housing priorities to create this Lifelong Homes Initiative. So I'll just show you a couple things about it. When we talk about a lifelong home, we're talking about a place that is obviously for someone who could be elderly or someone who might have a disability, but it's also someone who is pushing a stroller, or someone that's in the stroller, or someone that is small or large. So accessibility for all is what we're talking about in this case. Our building codes have done a good job with non-residential buildings. You know, we have to have ramps or elevators and things like that, but our residences don't have to. But what if we built them right in the first place? And when we talk about right, you can see these 5 different categories. And we're talking about the community context. So that's more the exterior of the buildings. Visitability, making sure that someone who might have a disability could visit your home. And then making sure all the buildings are accessible in all different kinds of rooms. And then healthy, that goes back to the indoor air quality and other things. And then affordable and efficient to operate. And we have 2 different certifications that we've created. You see the one on the left is a certified lifelong community. And then the one on the right is a certified lifelong home. And a community would obviously have some certified homes, but the community is built right in the first place. We have just pre-certified our first community. It's in northern Fort Collins. It's called Sonders, Sonders. So they're the first community to be certified with this Lifelong Homes program in the world. We want this program to go statewide and then nationally and maybe internationally. It only makes sense. But at this point, we're just piloting the program. And in talking with Michael and Diva and others associated with Polestar, we really feel like this is something that could make sense for Polestar. Why not build it this way? And I think it is being designed and built this way. So then why not get that certification as well? So that's something that we're talking more and more about. And in terms of that community pilot certification, it's those kinds of things that are bulleted that we make sure are part of it. And then there's a kind of a long list, and you have to do at least 10 of the things that are in the longer list. Some of those are about efficiency, some of those about accessibility, some of those are about affordability. So a number of different things that are possible. And then the higher or the more attributes you take on, the higher your level of certification is. It's very similar to the LEED certification program that our institute has been involved in for a long time. So those are the two things I wanted to present to you. And I just wanted to see if there might be a question or two before I have to scoot to a family dinner.
Brian, how long does the lifelong communities process usually take?
You know, it is a pretty quick process. We would sit down with the project team a few times. We'd have a scoping meeting to see what's possible, and then we would all work together, taking some of those things that seemed possible to see if they really are something that have been achieved. With that Saunders project, it was something that took us less than a year to do. And that was our first pilot. So I would think it something that could be done in probably 5 to 7 months.
We should probably get that going.
Yes. Well, and we just talked, Clayton and Alicia and I, and there's some of my compatriots that are part of this program in our institute. We just talked this last week about that. And so we're putting together a proposal to give to you so that we could go back and forth to see if it's something you'd like to pursue.
Great.
All right. Well, I probably should get going. So
Well, I'm so
nice to meet
sorry we used
everyone.
up your time so quickly, but really appreciate you sharing with us today. And
Sure.
let's be in touch soon. And we'll probably discuss this a little bit amongst us. So I might circle back with some of our questions. But
Please do, and
Brian, thank
I'd be
you.
glad to attend another session like this or in person sometime. Terry, I've met you, and Diva and a few others, but I look forward to meeting the rest of you before long.
Thanks,
Nice to see
Brian.
you, Brian. Thanks.